Remember the shoe bomber? Remember the guy who got onto a plane with a bomb built into a shoe and tried to light it? Did you know his trial is over? Did you know he was sentenced? Did you hear or see any of the judge's comments on TV or radio? I didn't think so. Everyone should hear what the judge had to say. Ruling by Judge William Young, U.S. District Court. Prior to sentencing, the judge asked the defendant if he had anything to say. His response: after admitting his guilt to the court for the record, Reed also admitted his allegiance to Osama bin Laden, to Islam, and to the religion of Allah, defiantly stating, "I think I will not apologize for my actions," and told the court, "I am at war with your country." Judge Young then delivered the statement you're about to hear.
Mr. Richard C. Reed, hearken now to the sentence the court imposes upon you. On counts 1, 5, and 6, the court sentences you to life in prison in the custody of the United States Attorney General. On counts 2, 3, 4, and 7, the court sentences you to 20 years in prison on each count. The sentence on each count to run consecutively. That's 80 years. On count 8, the court sentences you to the mandatory 30 years again, to be served consecutively to the 80 years just imposed. The court imposes upon you for each of the 8 counts a fine of $250,000. That's an aggregate fine of $2 million. The court accepts the government's recommendation with respect to restitution and orders restitution in the amount of $298.17 to Andre Bosquet and $5,784 to American Airlines. The court imposes upon you an $800 special assessment. The court imposes upon you 5 years supervised release simply because the law requires it. But the life sentences are real life sentences, so I need go no further. This is the sentence that is provided for by our statutes. It's fair and just. It's a righteous sentence. Now let me explain this to you. We're not afraid of you or any of your terrorist co-conspirators, Mr. Reed. We are Americans. We've been through the fire before. There's too much war talk here, and I say that to everyone with the utmost respect. Here in this court, we deal with individuals as individuals and care for individuals as individuals. As human beings, we reach out for justice. You are not an enemy combatant. You are a terrorist. You're not a soldier in any war. You are a terrorist. To give you that reference, to call you a soldier, gives you far too much stature. Whether the officers of the government do it, or your attorney does it, or if you think you're a soldier, you're not. You're a terrorist. And we don't negotiate with terrorists. We don't meet with terrorists. We don't sign documents with terrorists. We hunt them down one by one and bring them to justice. So war talk is way out of line in this court. You're a big fella, but you're not that big. You're no warrior. I've known warriors. You're a terrorist, a species of criminal that's guilty of multiple attempted murders. In a very real sense, State Trooper Santiago had it right when you were first taken off that plane and into custody, and you wondered where the press and the TV crews were, and he said, "You're no big deal. You are no big deal." What your able counsel and what the equally able United States attorneys have grappled with, and what I have, as honestly as I know how, tried to grapple with, is why you did something so horrific. What was it that led you here to this courtroom today? I've listened respectfully to what you have to say, and I ask you to search your heart and ask yourself what sort of unfathomable hate led you to do what you're guilty and admit you're guilty of doing. And I have an answer for you. It may not satisfy you, but as I search this entire record, it comes as close to understanding as I know. It seems to me you hate the one thing that to us is most precious. You hate our freedom, our individual freedom to live as we choose, to come and go as we choose, to believe or not believe as we individually choose. Here in this society, the very wind carries freedom. It carries it everywhere from sea to shining sea. It's because we prize individual freedom so much that you're here in this beautiful courtroom, so that everyone can see, truly see, that justice is administered fairly, individually, and discreetly. It is for freedom's sake that your lawyers are striving so vigorously on your behalf, have filed appeals, will go on in their representation of you before other judges. We Americans are all about freedom, because we all know that the way we treat you, Mr. Reed, is the measure of our own liberties. Make no mistake, though. It is yet true that we will bear any burden, pay any price to preserve our freedoms. Look around this courtroom. Mark it well. The world is not going to long remember what you or I say here. The day after tomorrow, it'll be forgotten, but this, however, will long endure. Here in this courtroom and courtrooms all across America, the American people will gather to see that justice, individual justice, not war, individual justice is in fact being done. The very President of the United States, through his officers, will have to come into courtrooms and lay out evidence on which specific matters can be judged, and juries of citizens will gather to sit and judge that evidence democratically, to mold and shape and refine our sense of justice. See that flag, Mr. Reed? That's the flag of the United States of America. That flag will fly there long after this is all forgotten. That flag stands for freedom, and it always will. Mr. Custody Officer, stand him down.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed.